The death penalty is 100% immoral and flawed on account of being racially biased, more expensive than non-death penalty trials, and having frequent wrongful convictions. Since 1977, 77% of death row defendants have been executed for killing white victims, although 50% of homicide victims are African American. According to a study by Yale University School of Law, African American defendants receive the death penalty at 3 times the rate of white defendants. In addition, prosecutors are more willing to seek a death sentence when a defendant is of racial minority. And in this graph provided by the Inter-University Consortium for Political and Social Research, we see that whites have the lowest rate of executions as opposed to racial minorities. This is the unjust reality of the death penalty. In addition to being racially biased, a death penalty case costs up to 70% more than the cost of a non-death penalty case, according to the Kansas Legislative Post audit. In a study by the California Commission for the Fair Administration of Justice, it was concluded that it costs $137 million per year for the current death penalty system, but would only cost $11.5 million per year for a non-death penalty system. In addition, when a death penalty case results in a verdict less than death, which occurs quite often, taxpayers first pay all costs of the pretrial and then costs of incarceration for life or retrial as well. Spending money on the death penalty ultimately means less money for crime prevention, education, and drug rehabilitation in society, which are all necessities and very valuable. Spending millions of dollars per year on a system that often results in error is very illogical. The correct choice is obvious. Lastly, the death penalty results in irrevocable mistakes, which are ultimately inevitable. According to the National Registry of Exonerations, Damon Thibault of Louisiana was freed from blame after being on death row for 15 years for a crime that he did not even commit. Thibault was one of the lucky ones. Jesse Jacobs, on the other hand, was executed in Texas on January 4, 1995. Jacobs was sentenced to death after Peter Spears, the prosecutor, demonstrated that he had been the killer in an abduction ending with murder, also involving a co-conspirator, Bobby Jean Hogan. Peter Spears stated, "The simple fact is that Jesse Jacobs and Jesse Jacobs alone killed Etta Ann Urdiales." The jury made their decision and he was sentenced to death. Spears was also the prosecutor in Bobby Hogan's trial later on. During this, he said, "Through the course of it all, I changed my mind about what actually happened. I'm convinced that Bobby Hogan is the one who pulled the trigger." It was then proven that all along Jacobs was innocent. This case undoubtedly proves that humans cannot be trusted to administer the death penalty. Jacobs' last statement was, "I have committed lots of sin in my life, but I am not guilty of this crime. I would like to tell my son, daughter, and wife that I love them." He left behind a grieving family. Jesse Jacobs' case is just one of the many mistakes that proves that the death penalty is not worth the irrevocable mistakes that it can result in. In conclusion, the death penalty is 100% immoral and wrong. It's racist, more expensive than non-death penalty cases, and results in wrongful convictions.